There is a question the Khasi people have asked for generations. Why does it rain so much in Meghalaya? The scientists will tell you geography, mountains, wind patterns, the Bay of Bengal, and they are not wrong. But the elders have a different answer. They will tell you about a king who wanted to rule the sacred land, a king who was told no, and what happened after that no changed the sky itself. My name is the Lawkeeper. I keep these stories. This one begins with power and ends with rain. It has not stopped since. In the time before memory was written down, when the hills of Meghalaya were younger and the sacred groves were older, there was a king. His name was Sai. He was powerful, he was proud, and he believed, as powerful men often do, that what he wanted, he deserved. What he wanted was the land, all of it, the villages, the fields, the forests, and most of all, the sacred grove of Mawphlang. Sai had conquered many things. He had taken villages by force and kingdoms by cunning. He had made men bow and women weep and children grow up knowing only his name as the name of power. But Mawphlang was different. He had heard of it every conqueror had. A forest that could not be cut, a land that could not be taken. A grove watched over by something older than any king, the Ryngkew, the Basa, spirits so ancient they had no beginning in any story anyone could tell. Most men who heard this stayed away. Sai heard it and wanted it more. There is something in the nature of men who have never been refused. When they finally meet a door that won't open, they don't walk away. They push harder. He came with his army, not a small force, a real army. Men with weapons and certainty and the absolute belief that their king's will was the same as the will of the world. They stood at the edge of the sacred grove. The forest was quiet, not peaceful quiet, the other kind. The kind that has weight to it. The kind that knows you are there and is deciding what to do about you. Sai looked at the trees. He felt something he had not felt in a very long time. He felt small. He pushed the feeling down. He ordered his men forward. They did not get far. No one who has written about this moment agrees on exactly what happened inside the grove. The stories differ in their details. Some say the men were turned around, walking in circles that brought them back to where they started. Some say the trees moved. Some say the animals came, not attacking, just watching, in numbers that made the soldiers feel surrounded, even though nothing touched them. What every version agrees on is that they came back out, every single man, unchanged physically, but changed in some other way that none of them could explain afterward. They came out quieter than they went in. They came out looking at the ground. They came out like men who had been shown something about themselves they would have preferred not to see. Sai stood at the tree line and waited for his army to return to him. He counted them as they came out, all present, all alive, all refusing to meet his eyes. He understood. The forest had said no. Sai did not rage. Rage was for men who were surprised by losing. He was not surprised, not exactly. He was offended, in the deep, quiet way that only the truly proud can be offended. The way that doesn't make noise. The way that sits in the chest and hardens into something that feels like decision. He told his army to make camp. He told his advisors to be silent. And then alone, without weapons, without ceremony, he walked to the edge of the sacred grove and stepped inside. His advisors watched him go. Not one of them tried to stop him. Not because they didn't want to, but because there was something in his face that made stopping him feel pointless. Like trying to stop water with your hands. The forest received him without drama. No wind rose, no animals fled, no darkness fell. It was simply quiet. The kind of quiet that has texture, that you can feel against your skin like a change in temperature. Sai walked. He was not afraid. He told himself this, clearly, firmly, the way he had told himself things his entire life, as a command issued to his own body. You are not afraid. You are a king. You have walked into battles that broke other men. You are not afraid of trees. His body obeyed. His footsteps were steady. But something else, something underneath the footsteps, underneath the commands, he gave himself something, and the oldest, quietest part of him was paying attention in a way it had never paid attention before. He walked for what felt like an hour. Then he stopped. Not because something blocked him, because he realized he did not know where he was. He had been walking in a straight line. He was certain of it. He was a man who had navigated battlefields, who had read landscapes the way other men read maps. He did not get lost. And yet, the trees around him were the same in every direction. The light, what little filtered through the canopy, came from everywhere and nowhere. The ground beneath his feet was soft and even and gave him no information about which way was forward. He turned around. Behind him looked exactly like ahead of him. He stood very still. It was then that he felt. Not a sound, not a sight, not a presence he could point to and say, there, that is what I came to find. More like a shift in the weight of the air around him. Like something that had been watching him for a very long time, had simply decided to let him know it was there. Khama. Nongsai had faced armies. He had faced men with weapons and men with poison and men with nothing left to lose. He knew what threat felt like. He knew what danger felt like. This was neither. This was something he had no word for. The closest he could come was being known, completely, without mercy. Without the small mercies that human eyes give you the inability to see all the way through, the limits of what one person can understand about another. This saw all the way through. It saw the boy he had been before he learnt to be a king. The fear he had carried since childhood and buried under conquest after conquest after conquest. The particular loneliness of a man who has made himself impossible to reach. The smallness, the absolute, irreducible smallness of one human life measured against something that had been standing in this forest since before his people had a word for forest. He felt himself assessed, not judged. Judgment implies the possibility of a different outcome, just seen and found not evil, not worthy of destruction, simply small. Manong Sai, who had not wept since he was 7 years old, felt something move through his chest that he did not have a name for. He would not call it grief. He would not call it shame, but it was close to both. He stood in the silence of that ancient place and understood for the first time in his life, with the particular clarity that comes from having every defense stripped away at once, that he was going to die someday, that everything he had built was going to crumble, that every kingdom falls, every name fades, every king becomes, eventually, a story that fewer and fewer people tell, until one day no one tells it at all. And this forest will still be here, watching the next king come, and the next, and the next. He walked out of the forest. He did not remember walking out. One moment he was inside, then he was at the tree line, standing in the grey morning light, his advisors staring at him. They said nothing. He said nothing. He was gone, for they told him later less than an hour. It felt to him like he had been inside for the whole of his life. He stood at the edge of the grove for a long moment. Then he turned to his army. His voice when he spoke was completely level, controlled, the voice of a king. But his oldest advisor, the one who had served 3 kings before him, looked at his eyes and saw something there that not defeat, something quieter than defeat. The thing that comes after a man stops fighting something he cannot win, and finally understands why. We leave, Hama Nongzai said. No one asked why. They packed their camp in silence and they left. And as the last man stepped away from the edge of the sacred grove, it began to rain. He left Mawphlang that day. He did not attack again. He did not send scouts or spies or second armies. He left, and the rain followed, steady, gray, constant, coming down over the hills of Meghalaya and refusing to stop. His men pulled their cloaks around themselves and kept walking. On the third day, his oldest adviser rode up beside him in the grey wet and said, quietly, "The forest is not angry, my king." Hamanungsai said nothing. "It is grieving," the old man said, "for what you almost did, for what men like you will keep trying to do. It grieves because it knows it will have to say no forever to every king who comes after you." Hamanungsai rode in silence for a long time. Then he said, "Then it will rain forever." The old man nodded slowly. "Yes," he said, "I think it will." Meghalaya. The name means the abode of clouds. It is the wettest place on earth. Cherrapunji, which sits not far from Mawphlang, holds world records for rainfall that have stood for over 100 years. The scientists explain it with geography, with mountains and wind and the shape of the land, and they are right. But the elders of Mawphlang will tell you something else. They will tell you that the rain began with a refusal, that a king came and demanded what was not his, that the forest said no, and the sky in its own quiet, ancient way has been mourning that conversation ever since. Not in anger, in memory. The sacred grove still stands. The rain still falls. And every king who has come since, every army, every government, every hand that has reached toward that forest with the intention of taking, has been turned back. Not always dramatically, sometimes just quietly, the way the rain comes, steady, patient, without end.